I'm going to show you how to take your shame and turn it into your superpower, because not only is shame one of the lowest vibrational emotions, it's also one of the biggest visibility blocks. It also blocks love, abundance, and it wreaks havoc on our health. So let's break it down on the whiteboard, and I'm going to use myself as an example. This is me, and this blue circle is my energy field. Inside the circle is my internal world, which is made up of my thoughts, beliefs, emotions, traumas, experiences, and whatever is going on in here is creating my external reality out here. Let's take a look at the shame I used to carry in my energy field. Each one of these represents something I felt shame about, and the dots around it represent how much shame I carried about that thing. So the first thing is I used to be a drug addict. So this started at 16 years old, but really took hold in my 20s. And it came with all of the typical things like lying, cheating, stealing, isolating, failing myself, failing others, basically a consistent rock bottom and a constant shame spiral. But even years after, I still didn't want people to know this about me, because what would they think about me? Staying in a narcissistic dynamic for so long, but also leaving and then returning when I thought things had gotten better, because I had these stories in my head like, how could I allow myself to be tricked? How could I stay in this for so long? How did I not have the strength to leave? What would people think about me? Would they see me as weak? Would they see me as pathetic? I was being so codependent for so long that I lost myself, my personality, my identity. I was constantly striving for success, wanting to achieve, to prove my worth, always making sure everybody else was taken care of, prioritizing everyone else's needs, to the point where I literally lost who I was and didn't exist outside of taking care of other people and trying to prove my worth. Because of this codependence and this lack of identity came a string of failed relationships, which brought me to being in my 30s, unmarried, without kids, and having been single for a really long time. And I felt a lot of shame about this, because society tells us, what is a woman's worth if she's not married and she doesn't have kids? And then society tells us that something must be wrong with us if we haven't been chosen. And so I carried so much shame about this because I internalized that as a belief system. Next was feeling behind in life. I woke up at 36 years old and realized I built an entire false identity and false life around what I thought other people wanted, what society, the world, my family, my friends, all of the expectations outside of me. And I realized I didn't even exist in that. Not only was it not authentic, I didn't even exist. And so at 36 years old, I had to start my life completely over. As a result of starting over and going on a deep self-discovery journey, I started sharing my spiritual gifts, which I felt so much shame about, because what would people say? They were going to think I was crazy, which brings me to my next one. I went from being a successful corporate executive to a TikTok psychic. And I held a lot of shame about this, because I was like, people are going to think I'm having a mental breakdown. Now let's zoom out and see what it looks like when we don't alchemize the shame. So you'll often feel stuck and stagnant. You'll feel hopeless, like you can't find a way out of whatever situation you're in, and you'll be stuck in fear. You accept less than what you deserve in relationships and career. You have health issues, isolation. Even if you're around people, you're going to feel lonely. A lot of confusion. You feel a distrust in yourself, a distrust in the divine. You feel disconnected. You're going through the motions. Often you are gaining weight or having difficulty losing weight. You struggle financially, and you experience a lot of tower moments. This can be like losing the job, losing the relationship. It can just feel like you have a string of bad luck. And this is basically what my life looked like until I started alchemizing my shame. Now let me show you how I took all of this shame and turned it into my superpowers. All my time in the underworld, between the addiction, the narcissistic dynamics, the codependence, losing myself, this has made me the most powerful healer that I am today. It also makes me unique, because I don't regurgitate information. I teach from my own fires. And all of this shame, these things I wanted to hide from the world, are what people actually pay me for now, because I had already been on a healing journey for like 15 years before this, but the visibility journey that I went on is what helped me create these different blueprints to heal all of this, to turn it into a superpower. And now I've helped thousands of women do that. I couldn't have done that if I didn't go through this. All of my rock bottoms, this is how I can create containers to hold people through deep, profound transformation. This is how I help them rebuild from their rock bottoms. It locked in my purpose, because life felt meaningless and I couldn't access who I was or remember what I was here to do when all of this shame was so heavy in my field. My spiritual gifts have expanded, and now not only do I not feel shame about them, this is again what people pay me for. My discernment and intuition is on point. Like, that is so locked in. I can see through anything from all of these different experiences and all of the different people that were involved. My abundance has skyrocketed, and not just from visibility, of course that helps, but also because as I healed these emotions, my outer reality began to change without as much effort. And this became my magic. I wear this like my crown, and I used to be afraid it would be something that was exposed. I just want to scoop every woman on this earth up and take her on this healing journey, because this journey isn't just about getting visible. It's about remembering who you are, remembering the power and the divinity that is already within within you, claiming your truth, claiming your gifts, your wisdom, and unleashing yourself unapologetically, because this shame is just the human experience. And we are taught and programmed to believe that these are the things that make us bad, that make us wrong, and it keeps us stuck, silent, and hidden. We're not battling against the patriarchy, ladies. We are literally battling against our own inner demons that are keeping us stuck. And when we go within, instead of focusing on without what's going on in the external reality, we take that attention inside. That is where we remember who we are. We remember our power, and that is how we change the world.